Okay, this is A Heart Hums in Darkness Part 3. So let's do a little bit of recapping. We sort of left the party split last time with Inda going off and discovering like a sort of amphitheater somewhere in the subterranean city of Wellslode. And Inda discovered that there is a human cult, a beekeeper cult there in the amphitheater who are creating what they claim to be as an army to help, quote, defeat the pretender. And this army appears to be people who are being subjected to venoms and other things in order to change them into something. In any case, Inda sort of witnessed that, and that's where we left Inda. The other group ended up in a sort of kind of a commercial district or a sort of warehouse district of Wellslode, where they learned that there are bees here that are not bees. They're wax constructs, and they are forcing captured Wellslodians to chew up pulp in order to, I don't know, do whatever they do with chewed up pulp. And they have a whole factory where they're kind of like a little, or not a factory, yeah, kind of like a little factory space where they're doing that. And the group was attacked by one of these wax arbalists, defeated it, but are no closer to figuring out what's going on there. I mean, you are just in this sort of district and there's an out of character set goal, but otherwise your characters are just sort of wandering about. You have this like mandate to just make a report back to Fort Durin, like what's going on in Wellslode. And I think you've got a pretty good picture of what's going on, but maybe not the whole picture. And so you're getting pretty close to being able to make a comprehensive report about what's going on in Wellslode, but I don't know if you're quite there yet. But if you're able to make that report, and once you feel comfortable that you have a report to make, you can go back, and if your report is satisfactory, you will be paid for the report, equal to 1 gold for each of you. So you have that to look forward to in terms of meeting your burdens. And that's the next thing we should talk about. Burdens have to get met. Some of you are there, but you don't quite yet, but you don't have any extra. you just met your burdens. And some of you are not, as best I can tell. And so you need to keep searching for treasure. Everybody is at 4 ruin, which is not terrible in this game, but the difference between 4 and 5 is pretty dramatic, though. Like once you hit 5, it becomes a really different calculation for your character. And so, yeah, that's sort of what the deal is. I'll remind you of the 2 set goals that are available right now. The amphitheater set goal is to find the keys to the city. We don't really know what that means yet, but that is what the goal is. And the set goal of the area where the other group is in is to find Lucas's notes. Someone named Lucas, who, again, we don't know who this is. We don't know what the deal is. This is strictly out of character stuff. Otherwise, your characters are just searching and trying to figure out what to do and what's going on. And so at this point, I think I would like to just, kind of pick up if there's no other questions or anything. I want to add a little extra detail to what's going on in both scenes. Inda, there of course is this ritual, this series of rituals taking place by this beekeeper cult. They're dipping people in these wax cells and creating some sort of army of their own in these wax cells. And of course, there's in the actual seats and the seating of the amphitheater, that's where these wax cells are. I will also say that there is a portion of the amphitheater where you hear some noise coming from it. You hear a woman's voice, and she occasionally cries out something like, "Yes, yes, the transformation is complete. I have become one with the endless hive, with the numberless millions. I am one of you. I am one of you." And the cultists occasionally like look at this and they kind of like not shake their heads like exasperatedly and ignore her. But that's the thing going on. And so that's just another thing to be aware of. What do you do, Inda?
Well, I'm currently crouched down in beekeeper disguise, and I suppose what my concern, Inda's concern is that she knows something of what's going on, but not really enough to haggle for any more from the authorities at Fort Duran. So, and also she's starting to get a sort of niggling sense of guilt that she stood up from her companions. So I think basically what she wants to do is stage an illusion like to escape, but also try and learn a little bit more. So maybe try and get over to where the voice is coming from and just try and get that one little thing that she can take back materially that's gonna really clinch it for the authorities.
So you're gonna go to that lady who was yelling?
Yeah. So
Okay.
first step, find out more. Second step, I have a plan to basically cause chaos and escape and try and
Got
find
it.
the others.
I like that. I think I'll let you just move over there. I think the cult is really focused on what they're doing. And also, I'll remind you that the cult is aware of someone deeper in the city who is making like a screaming sound. This is the person that they believe to be the pretender, right? So it's another thing to be aware of. When you follow that sound, that woman hollering, you actually are at it's like a pile of abandoned props. This used to be like a performance theater of some sort. And there's a bunch of like abandoned props, backdrops featuring distant lands, roaring oceans, sailing ships in profile, forests, seascapes, a storm-racked moor. They're all just kind of strewn about. There is a wingless bee drone chewing apart a painted canvas glade, converting it to pulp, no doubt. But there is a woman there as well. She has a knife strapped to her foot, and she's dragging it behind her. And she also has clear signs of the infection that Revel was struck with, but it's much more progressed. And she's just kind of saying, "Yes, I'm a bee. I'm a bee. I'm one of you," she says to the drone chewing on the set. "I'm one of you." And the drone just ignores her. And she like lifts up her foot that has the knife attached to it. And she like thrusts it into the ground. And she's like, "Look how I sting. Look at my stinger." And again, the drone bee is just ignoring her completely. The cult is ignoring her. What do you do?
I think Inda's gonna sort of get closer and in the guise of being a cultist say, "So, drone, tell me of the pretender. What will you do to them when you find them?" And try and get a rant going that's on topic.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Let's have a risk roll. What do we think could go wrong here, gang?
Amanda, you're muted.
Is this better? There we
Mhm.
go. She's going to recognize that you are not, in fact, a cultist and will turn her stinger on you.
I had a similar idea.
Like, it seems like that the cultists are against the pretender, and that the bees are for the pretender. So like she'll get very mad because you're part of the cult, and she'll try to attack you anyways. So
I was also gonna say, she attacks.
So, Inda, let's talk about your dice. You have. Do you have a skill that helps you here? Oh, you do. I think the costume will give you that die. Actually, you can get the light die from having the disguise.
And I've got improvisation and story, so I
Yeah.
can spin up a good yarn on the fly.
You got one light die. Devil's bargains. Everyone can offer one. I'm going to say no matter what, this woman who is a little younger than you is a member of your family.
I was gonna go something very similar.
I feel like I got to
Huh.
take that one to follow up on the one last session. Like it seems like I'd be wasting that one if I didn't follow up on this one as well.
What was the one last session?
But it's something that it would have something to do with my family or drive, like someone. Oh no, the cult would have someone influential that would help me with my.
Oh yeah,
my
okay,
drive,
good. So that feels
so-
like a good connection. Yeah. You got 2 light dice if nobody else has another offer. I don't think this is automatically dangerous, so go ahead and just roll 2 light. 6 light, there you go.
6.
Yeah. Who is she?
I think that when I was a successful merchant before I became a hapless peddler in Amberit, she was my niece and also like a member of my company. And when we were on an expedition, she went missing and my family blamed me for it and cast me out. And that's why I'm I'm a luckless peddler trying to regain my reputation.
Very good. Wait, she was your niece, you said?
Yes.
Okay, good. Will she recognize you then?
It's been a while, like 10, 15 years, I would
Okay.
assume.
That's good. We'll just say she doesn't at first, but you recognize her. What do you say? Well, you're disguised anyway, but
So she doesn't. I don't recognize her. Oh no, I recognize her, but not the other way around. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, she doesn't recognize your voice, I guess. Yeah.
I'll say, child. Oh, it's you. And say, we all thought you were dead. And says, quickly, you have to get out of here. Put that stupid dagger away. Come on,
She
you're
says,
not a bee.
I was dead, but I am reborn. I am reborn into the hive. Don't you see? My training as an actress has prepared me to take on this magnificent new role that has been laid before me. A complete immersion. Buzz. Buzz, buzz. 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 What do you do?
I think I'm going to spin her a tale and appeal to her vanity and say, yes, you will ascend in glory. This is the greatest role that you have ever known. Take to the spotlight. We have many to tell. I have 3 companions, disciples who will hear your story. But first you must escape from the limiting strictures of this amphitheater. Come with me, child. Your destiny awaits.
Is there an audience to be found where we are going?
Oh, such an audience.
Oh, sister of the sunstriped clade.
Such an audience that you'll never imagine, child. So many clients, I mean. admirers to see your transformation.
Yes. Yes. I will go with you. Woe that my wings have not yet sprouted from my thorax, or I would fly us to this wondrous place. Alas, we must be as the drones, crawling along the ground to our destinies. Buzz, buzz.
So, in your role, in your majestic role as a bee, as a fully immersed bee, have you learnt the labyrinth of Wellslode? Do you know how to find our companions, our disciples in this place?
Well, Wellslode is very big. I don't know where your companions are, but I may have access to something that will allow us to find them.
Lead on, you majestic insect. Lead on.
But surely you can just go and get it yourself, since you are a member of the Sunstripe Clade based off of your garb.
The inner mysteries must be discovered in doing. You must prove your beehood.
And she says, I shall show you where it is then. I am surprised that your colleagues would keep such a thing from you. And she leads you off somewhere. Back with the rest of the group. You're in this district of warehouses and large buildings, and you have just destroyed a wax arbalest bee. What are you doing right now? You know that there are these wax bees that have some kind of strange industry going on here.
I wonder if there's actually any real bees, or is it just all mannequins all the way down?
Is
But
it
did-
just the two bees guarding or force feeding the people the stuff that they're chewing?
There was like a few of them.
A few.
I imagine enough of them that we cannot like directly get these people to escape. Or at least in a fight.
Well, if we can't fight the bees, and we can't convince them to stop what they're doing because they're mannequins, what do we do? Nothing? I don't feel great about nothing. Besides, somebody in there might know where some better treasure is around here.
While you're having this conversation, you hear a noise from an alley that's sort of perpendicular to where you're at. A stumbling creature in filthy clothing, barely recognizable as human, comes out of the darkness. Their nose and mouth has a glistening amber crust, and they have a sort of bluish green luminescence coming from deep within their throat as they open their mouth and make their noises. They are, in fact, riddled with glowing pus-filled sacs all over their body. And there's a halo of small bees buzzing all around them. It stumbles forward. What do you all do?
I step behind Revel.
Need to shut that thing up. We'll approach it, I guess. Ready to kind of tackle it to the ground.
It
if
lunges
we-
forward. It's a combat.
Okay.
Combat 7.
Well, here we go.
Anybody who's doing the combat, please say how you're vulnerable and roll a weak point.
Opeha realizes, well, maybe the fungus that we've eaten is not too great because, well, it seems as though it's taken over this person. Yeah. This is just unpleasant.
I have a little bit of protection since I'm hiding behind Revel, but once Revel is dispatched, then it's going to come after me, hence the weakness.
We're the ones who are going to be engaging it up close and personal, so we've got to get within arm's reach to do
yeah.
any damage.
So far, Sybil has a 2, Obeha has a 2, and Revel has the unfortunate 6. The creature is only an endurance 7, so with 3 combat dice, you should be able to dispatch it in one go. Let's see how it goes. Revel, you can roll.
3 dark dice?
Combat, just do combat 3.
Got it.
Which ends up being 3 dark dice. 3, 1, and 2. That's 3 and 2 is what we're looking for, which is a total of 5. That is not enough, and the 2s get hit. So let's get the combat. Revel, this thing, I think, kind of gets the better of you at first and even manages to get to Sybil. What does that look like?
We go in for a strike, and I think it just has a more unholy strength than we were accounting for, and it just kind of like backhands us and we're thrown off balance and shoved off to the side.
It tackles you, Sybil. It tackles you and is pinning you down, and it's shaking its head back and forth. And bees, it's agitating the bees around it, and the bees are just like stinging the shit out of you. You take the condition stung, plus your ruin goes up unless you mark armor.
I will mark my amulet of protection.
Okay, so how are you protected from that instead?
I think as I fall back and during this tackle, the amulet sort of flips up towards my neck when I land on the ground. It's sitting there and it just sort of provides a little safety bubble around my precious face.
Obeha, what do you do to get the thing? What happens to you? I mean,
I think with all the bees, like they bounce off this bubble, and I think they just swarm and start stinging me instead. Because
so
I also rolled a 2 as a weak point.
take your ruin increase and you take the stung condition. Let's go to the second round of combat. Sybil, you can roll a combat 4. 3 4s, a 2. The 2 is enough to the 2 4s are enough to defeat it, but the 2s are getting hit again. Are you dead, Obeha?
Yeah, I'm dead.
Oh no!
You just went on to the next round before I asked to like.
Oh,
try to
okay,
leave.
you can retreat still. I don't mind.
Mhm.
I did go into it pretty fast. You got to give you have to give that 2 to somebody else though.
I'm going to give it to Revel, because Sybil cannot handle a second weak point.
Revel, are you going to take the hit or are you?
Yeah, I'll take
marking
it.
armor. Okay.
I have no more armor to mark.
You do defeat the thing. Go ahead and describe. Revel, you can finish it off.
So the bees are swarming around Obeha, and we get back onto our feet. And since its back is to us, we just kind of come up behind it, and we have to wrap one of our arms around it to fit our sword and shank it longwise up through the torso. But in so doing, I think the bees continue stinging us now and come on to us during this process.
Obeha, loot the body quickly. It's a gold 7.
Uh,
1 gold. I think it just has, from its previous life, it has a pouch of silver. You could just grab that and add that to a gold counter, whoever wants to keep it. You all become quite suddenly aware in other parts of this district, the sound going up. They're like clickers in The Last of Us. You just hear this like,
I would like to pull out from my equipment belt a little vial of Troll's Blood potion.
you can down that and reduce your ruin, certainly.
What does the Fander's Eye do? Can I use that to help?
Oh, did
So
we?
I'm now at ruin 5, and I have condition stung from the 2 that we just had.
I need to go look at Fander's Eye. Give me 1 second. It is actually one of the treasures in the thing.
Come on, be Healy.
Yes, please be Healy.
Do you remember where you found that? Was that in Who Goes There?
Yeah, I
It
think it
was.
was Who Goes There.
Fander's Eye. How many vials do you have?
3.
1 vial, it just is a painkiller that can clear conditions. If you down all 3, it'll lower your ruin.
Yes, I'm gonna do it.
Okay. There are more of these swarm stung monstrosities. You're in a honey zombie hellhole right now. It's becoming very, very obvious. What are you all going to do?
All right, we're going loud. We should at least try and get the people out of here. I think we're going to approach the people being force-fed stuff.
I would like to use my ritual fountain which is the forceful spring of water bursts forth from a location you touch. As Revel approaches the people, I want to burst forth water at any bees approaching Revel.
I actually like that as I like that as like a help for Revel to rescue the people. I think this is a good approach. Revel, how are you going to do this? Like, how are you going to rescue this group of people?
I think we have to like knock the bees at least off their kilter. Revel's not really graceful. So I think it's just a full-on body tackle. The first one, shove it off to the side and point toward. There's enough light for them to, I hope, see, and then just like point to Sybil and say, "You all have to run right now."
Yeah, there actually are like there's like a eerie combination of like braziers and the blue lamplight fungus that kind of illuminate this district. So just a smash and grab, basically. Okay, let's talk about what could go wrong here, but we'll come back to this in a moment. Inda. She drags that dagger on her foot, and it makes this really loud, like scratching, scraping sound on the stone. And I don't think the cult is really paying too much attention to her, but she says, "So you have not imbibed the sacred smoke?"
I am on a journey. This is our holy pilgrimage. I must keep my mind clear until I reach the goal, and only then will I imbibe. I'm basically just going to couch it all in a series of sort of nice sounding bee religion platitudes.
Indeed. She says, "Well, I know where they keep it. I know where they keep the smoke that allows you to see as the bees do." Buzz.
Lead on, Sister B. Lead on into the hive.
She's taking you to another corner of the amphitheater. And now she has attracted the attention of the Sunstriped Clade. A couple of them are coming over to investigate the noise that she makes as she drags her blade stinger across the stone. What are you going to do to deal with them?
We established that they were burning off herbs. They were creating a kind of barrier of smoke around themselves, right?
Yes, I think it was more just like a sort of ritual, smoke.
Oh, okay,
situation.
yeah. No, I'm just thinking. I think what I might do is create a distraction by essentially, so firstly getting my own like weapon and making the noise, and then using my ritual to make like dozens army to make dozens of versions of me all in identical robes, all making the noise all around the amphitheater.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's good. Amanda, what could go wrong?
I think if you make all of this noise around the amphitheater, it will draw attention to you, but more specifically to your niece. As a fake bee.
And let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill here? You have
I have
rituals.
I have
that'll do.
rituals, yeah.
You got one light die, and Revel, you can give the devil's bargain.
Oh gosh. I'm not great at these. No matter what, let's see. No matter what, the beekeeping cultist outfit is just no longer going to be useful either. It has to be, yeah.
And I need that. That is my escape plan. So I might go with 1-1 for now.
1-1. Take it away.
That's not at all a terrible idea, James. Oh, that's not too
5
bad. I mean, my ruin's
dark.
going to go up, but I
Your
still
ruin
have
is
my
gonna go up.
armor.
You will be able to infiltrate the place where she's trying to take you safely. Just describe how you distract or otherwise elude the Sunstripe Clade.
So essentially the idea is that there's suddenly this cacophony of knives everywhere, this echoing, and there's dozens, like every corner they look in, there's another robed figure scraping a knife along, and in that, the original bee-foot knife is lost in this cacophony, and it goes on for quite a long time. And I'm basically going to follow it to the herbs, and then we're gonna run for it while the illusion is still activated, even if I have to pick her up and face her foot away from me so that she doesn't ding me.
Yeah, we'll come back to this. Obeha, while Revel and Sybil are making their
Revolution.
80s action hero, like revolution, while they're like storming the Bastille here, the Bastille. Obeha, you'll notice a trio of these like hyper like over sort of like these like late stage swarm stung, we'll call them. You can see them, a trio of them trying to get into a particular door. There's something that has drawn their attention. It's in a little building kind of a couple of blocks away. They're clearly trying to get into like somewhere or get at someone. What do you do?
They're trying to get through this door. Is there any like other side entrances or like a window or something?
You can make a hunt roll.
This is pushing it, but you know what? Nah, I'll just take the 1 die.
Okay, go for it. A 4. You get your token. You encounter something terrible. The answer is no. But you do hear someone in this building hollering back at the swarm stung. Come on now. We've lived in relative peace all these weeks, and now you want to come inside? There's nothing for you here. Nothing for you here. Turn back. And they're just still like pawing and screeching and scratching. What do you do?
Oh, geez, this is gonna be a complicated thing for me to get to the building. Is there some way that I could ward the door against the swarm stung?
Oh, that's interesting. And then like kind of slip in underneath them.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's pretty good. What does your ward ritual say? Stay concentrating to protect. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it if you want to make a risk roll.
Mm-hmm.
Put you in a lot of danger if you get a 6 dark.
Yeah.
Are you willing to take that risk?
Yeah.
Okay. Group, what could go wrong?
The chanting or whatever verbal components of the ritual draw the bee stung or alert them at least to obey his presence.
I thought that too. Yeah, I think that's right. It may not even be these ones that you're trying to ward against. It could be some other ones, right? So, any other thoughts? Sounds like not. And so let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill? You have rituals.
Yeah, rituals, illusions.
Yeah.
Mm.
Devil's bargains. Everyone can make an offer.
No matter what, you find some evidence that the morning night may have been here.
No matter what, if you want to try to gain access to this closed up space, this panic room or whatever it is that this person's in, you need the help of another one of the treasure hunters. You can't get in there by yourself.
Yeah, I'll take Amanda's devil bargain unless someone else has something different.
Remind me what yours was, Amanda? I was thinking of mine while you were talking.
Evidence of the morning night.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you should definitely do that. 2 light, 1 dark. Oh, unless you got one.
Mine. I was gonna say something about the leeches, like no matter what, the leeches start sort of taking part in the ritual somehow, like they start propagating.
Mm.
I think the morning night is really good.
Yeah, the morning night is just really good.
I think it's like it needs to happen, right?
Yeah, if this is the role I'm going out on, let
it be this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You get 2 light, 1 dark. What'd you get?
I got a 6 light.
6 light. Very good. Fortune favors the bold. Think about the scene of how you're gonna get access to this space. But in the meantime, let's cut over to Revel and Sybil. Revel, let's do our 80s action movie raid here. I think what could go wrong is pretty straightforward here. You just have to engage the arbalest bees in combat. I don't know if it's going to be any different than that. Let's talk about dice. Do you have a skill that's going to help you out here, or a piece of equipment that'll help you out here?
Surprise athletics, dueling.
Oh yeah, surprise defense athletics. You're built for this. This is your deal. All right, this is your deal. You've got 1 light die. Let's talk about devil's bargains. James, you can make the devil's bargain.
I think no matter what, when basically it's got to be something about the presence of this many bees sort of triggers your kind of your vision, your fungus vision to kick up to another level, and you have this sudden onset of lamplight eyes, as it happens.
Oh, like you start to the swarm stung. Maybe you have to like deal with. You have to maybe make that roll again to not be overcome by the swarm stung.
Sure, let's take it.
You've got 2 light. I think a dark is automatic here. Go ahead and roll those dice. 6 dark is high. And so you are going up to ruin 5, but you do fully succeed. I think you're going to get stung by actual bees, maybe some that are like, just ambiently being carried by the zombies that are kind of around. But otherwise, you will be able to rescue the group. You don't need Sybil's help on the dice, but Sybil, you can certainly help in the narration of how you are helping it out. So Sybil, why don't you actually kick off? What's the opening you make for Revel?
I think as the bees start to swarm in and get underneath the protective layer, the protective bubble, I start kicking out just erratically. And in my flailing, I think I managed to kick Revel in just a really awkward but specific way that moves him exactly where he needs to be for the next bee attack.
Revel, give us the rest of the scene. How do you rescue this group of people?
I think we get the bees kind of shoved off to the side, and while they are stinging, Revel manages to call out, does somebody here know the way to Fort Durin? And gets a positive response. And while Revel is, tanking these bee stings, manages to get his shining knife into this guy's hand, says, "These people are your responsibility. Do not stop, do not accept or offer aid to anyone. The road is littered with brigands and opportunists and things that the bees have made." And then one of the stingers finally like finds its way up underneath, the sweet spot in his armor. And he like winces and he's like, "These people are your responsibility. You need to go now."
I owe you a swarm stung roll, which we'll get to in a bit. Obeha. And also, I will say this is kind of a out of character thing, but it's worth knowing as players. Those people going back to Fort Durin will be able to confirm your story that you will tell. And so you will get paid 1 gold each upon return to Fort Durin. So you have that in the bank now because you rescued these people. Let's go back to Obeha, though. Obeha, please describe how you get inside the panic room.
Like, imagine like there is like this wall, just and the door is like on the corner of the building. So I'm just like I am pressed up against the wall, slowly inching my way towards the door, and I'm drawing these runes and sigils along the wall, and I'm just hoping that they don't see me, that they don't witness me, and eventually I get to the door, and like they're just banging on it, and like I think they start like just banging on me as though they think I'm the door itself. And then I just turn the knob and I enter because like they didn't think to do that.
Yeah, like the creatures can't like operate doors, right? And so you manage to stumble in, you get in, you can slam the door behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a man. He is, let's read about him real quick. Yeah, you see a man who is inside what appears to be some kind of like a laboratory. The floor is slick with broken crockery, caustic foams, spilled oils, glass, and paper. There are shelves with taxidermied, burrowing animals, their skin replaced with transmuted glass. There's one of those large mole digger creatures, actually, in one corner. Its skin has been replaced with transmuted glass. Its organs are visible through this glass pane. And this man, he has bioluminescent pustules lining his throat. They're visible. He's clearly infected, but he's not overtaken yet, like the ones that were at the door. And he looks up at you and he says, perhaps I should reevaluate my defenses here.
Well, I'm not going to hurt you. I don't. And in fact, I've actually added to the defenses. They're not going to be getting in through the door, at least.
You're Feyborn.
Mhm. Yes.
Very
Does that matter?
interesting. No, but I have often wondered what the insides of a Feyborn creature look like. It's nothing, really. Nothing to concern ourselves with. I have something of an academic interest in the internal, you might say.
Mm. Yes, and I'd rather not have my external bits remove from my internal ones. As I look at like these glass figurines.
This is right. Yes, of course. Well, here we are. Why have you come to Wellslode?
Well, you had a bunch of people fleeing the city, and just all this talk of bees, and then coming here, there's just bees, but then not all the bees are bees. Some of them are wax mannequins, and that's odd.
Yes, well, I have learned a lot about what's happening here in Wellslode. Perhaps I would be willing to share what I know if you would be willing to, well, just give me a look at what's inside.
I'll show you as much as I can, but if I'm ruined, as it were, your door may not be able to withhold as much as it did before.
Oh, and he goes and he caresses the glass plane that is now the stomach of this taxidermied mole creature, very large, with all of its organs sloshing around inside. And he says, as you can see, I consider my inquiries to be something of an art form. I have a tremendous appreciation for the form. I would never do anything to harm you or your precious, precious innards.
What is your name?
I am Lucas. Meanwhile, Inda, you get out into some stairs into a lower sort of basement portion of the amphitheater. Looks like it used to be like a storage facility for costumes. In fact, there are costumes still kind of tucked, hanging on hanging and folded up in places. And she says, here. And there's a large pot, a brazier filled with plants and herbs and things. She says, this is the smoke that will allow you to see with your nose. It will lead you anywhere in the city. You might even say it's the key to the city, now that the city is the way it is. Buzz, buzz. Shall we light it now, sister?
No, we must keep it for the correct opportunity. And I think what I'm going to do is try and store it away in put it inside my put it in some kind of receptacle and say, we will light it at the most appropriate time, sister. But no, we must flee. I mean, we must continue our pilgrimage to the surface to find our companions and to spread the word.
Yes. Oh, would that I had my wings.
They will grow in time. You must give it opportunity for them to sprout.
You can add the smoke of Saint Mephira to your found equipment. When inhaled, it does allow you to navigate by smell. Let's take a 5-minute break. Sybil, in the sort of aftermath of this breaking free these people, you see Nil slipping into a building down the street. He looks left, he looks right to see if anyone sees him, and then he goes inside. He's managed to walk right around a little group of the swarm stung, as if they didn't even notice him.
Is
do you
Gerald
do?
following him?
No, Gerald's not following.
Okay.
No. Maybe looking for Gerald's how you found him, though, or how you saw it.
I want to sneak around this group of swarm stung and peek into this building that he's going in, because if he knows where there's a whole stack of treasure and he's hiding that from us, well, I want that treasure.
Make a hunt roll, because this is more about learning something than infiltrating right now at this moment. For whatever reason, the swarm stung aren't drawn to you either.
I got a 6.
Oh, very good. Take your token. Your ear is up against a sliver, a crack in a wall that allows you to hear the following conversation between Obeha and a person who you don't know. Nil is also in this building, but Obeha doesn't seem to be aware of it. Obeha Lucas says, "The mother of millions, she is building a grand army. An army that will allow her to march first on Fort Durin and then on Amberet. She intends to create an empire of bees. That is her intention. That's what all of this is. Wellslode is geographically useful in her efforts to create this army. It has people. It's hidden underground. Easily defensible, or so she believed. And so she conducts her experiments. That's what all the wax mannequins and constructs are about. But also, her cult is here doing strange things with people as, well, he points to the door and the swarm stung clawing their way in. But it seems that there is an interloper, a nuisance that she has to contend with at the moment. That's why everything is so agitated at the moment.
Mm.
I am merely an observer. I figured it was safer to stay here than to try to make my way like the rest of the Wellslodians. I suppose you should probably take this information back to wherever you came from. The lords and kings and queens of Kaldur will want to know that there is a burgeoning bee army right underneath their feet, ready to
Mhm.
strike.
Yes, this is concerning. I've seen what this empire is doing to people that aren't considered citizens, as it were. And I rather not that have for the rest of the world.
Well, it's all very fascinating from a scientific standpoint. The bees have very, very interesting, very interesting industry. They have a grasp of magic and of engineering, the combination of which is very difficult to parse with our human minds, but I have made a go of it. It is, well, I do wonder. I myself find myself thinking quite a lot about the hive. I don't even know where this hive is or where it is to be found. Perhaps it is just an idea, the way that humans think of the afterlife or heavens or that sort of thing. I want to go to the hive. And his blue light, his bioluminescence is like glowing really brightly as he says this. That is the promise of following the mother, I think.
But you haven't yet.
No, not yet. Not yet. I maybe haven't found a way to be useful. I don't know. It's all very confusing. What will you do? Will you tell people? Will you go to the surface and warn them?
Oh. You said that you wanted to see my insides.
That was what was promised, yes.
Mm-hmm. Could I take a look at your notes?
They're all pinned up on a wall.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "It's yours. Do as you will."
And I take a quick scan at like these notes. Less concerned about like the nature of what he wrote about and more of the style that he wrote. Is it changing at all? Such as like, because I'm not sure if he's entirely alive still, or at least himself.
Indeed. You don't have much time to consider it because you hear a wet squelching sound from behind you,
Oh,
and Lucas falls dead at your feet, his throat cut. Nil is in the room with you.
you didn't have to do that.
I'm afraid he said too much. It's very important that the surface world don't learn what's going on here in Wellslode. I would like very much for you to keep what you've heard to yourself, and indeed encourage your colleagues to go back to Fort Durin. If you do so, I will show you, indeed I will bring you to the lover of the morning night.
Do you know why I want to see the morning night?
No, but I can see it on your face. It's an expression I've seen before. Even with your mask, it is plainly visible to me.
I want to regain humanity, and you ask me to betray it.
But only in exchange for finding a very, very critical piece of your puzzle vis-a-vis the morning night. Do you take this offer, or shall I cut your throat as well?
I don't think I can take you in the fights. Not now. But know this. I don't think my compatriots will let you live.
We'll see about that. What are you going to tell them?
I won't say a word.
But of course, Sybil, you can overhear all of this. And so, Sybil, what do you do?
What do I have that I can do?
You want a suggestion?
Yeah, if you have a suggestion, if you have a evil idea,
A
chaotic plan, so to speak.
Yeah, this is a really chaotic plan. There is a crack in the wall, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's how she's listening, yeah.
Could she see through the crack, like just any sort of light?
Sure. Yeah.
You have the ritual fountain.
I do.
You could fill this room with water.
I was thinking about drowning Nil.
As well as you have the combination of
I also have Tadpole.
Tadpole.
So if you can't breathe, and for some reason I suspect you can underwater, but if you couldn't, I can breathe for you. So yes, I would like to drown everyone in this room.
Ah, very good. Are you going to grab the notes on the way out of Beha?
Yeah. At least I'll attempt to.
Yeah, you can try to. Yeah, we'll see how maybe that's the quality of the role will determine how much you get away with. I like this a lot. Let's check in with Revel briefly, though. Revel, you can feel that strange alchemy of the venom and the lamplight fungus working its way in you again. You will need to make another risk roll. The failure is very straightforward. If you fail, you will take the condition. Well, let's go back. Yeah, if you fail, you will take the condition the hive is home and begin properly transforming into one of these creatures. Do you have a relevant skill that will help you here? Or a piece of equipment?
I think we stretched defense last time to include like a mental defense, but
I mean, I'll take it again. I think it's fine. You just have to incorporate that into your description.
Sure.
You've got one light die. Amanda, you can do the devil's bargain.
no matter what, you will always feel the call of the Mother of Millions.
I'm gonna turn it down.
You've got one light die, and I don't need a dark die yet. You can just roll the light for now.
Sure. It's a 4.
You succeed. There is a complication. I think the complication is
Can
the
I
complication.
can I
Sorry.
offer something?
Sure, yeah.
Revel, the defense is that he is going to recite a variation on a poem for a saint,
I like
but he's
that,
going
yeah.
to beg the Witch of Navask for help, and she will hear him.
This is good. Yeah, I like it. I like that. That's really good. Yeah, so maybe the complication will be that I think the complication is going to be connected to the Witch of Navask. The Witch of Navask will reveal herself. Her agents will reveal themselves.
Sure.
And if you're okay with that, we'll let it ride. Otherwise, describe how you overcome the sickness.
Sure. So the venom is running its course. It's now a strangely familiar feeling. And Revel starts to understand that if he doesn't fight this off, he will become a servant to the bees. And so he kind of falls to his knees. The people have left the room. Sybil is gone, and he's just kind of feeling abandoned and alone in this place. And so he mutters to himself, "Witch who shed her tears for me, lain in flocculent reverie, I seek your light upon my brow. I would be your trophy now." And he goes to reach for the knife, and it's gone. He gave it away. And so he has to add the second stanza. "Chained within this dank domain, your relics, all that I retain, all your teachings I avow. I would be your trophy now." And I think that's as far as he gets. And then the pulsing starts to hit his head, and he I'll let you take it from there, Jason.
As soon as you finish the stanza, back where Inda is, Inda, as you are coming up the stairs, you hear the Sunstriped Clade begin to cry out, "The Pretender! The Pretender is here! She's here!" And you just hear this scream that turns into a heavy, thick, droning buzz. The cult members begin screaming. They are being consumed by bees, but these are different bees. These bees are they're inflected with magic and demonic power and evil. They are swarming the place, and you just hear screams and cries, desperate waving of smoke braziers, which are doing nothing, as the bees just like swarm. These terrible blood red bees. They sting. Their venom causes swelling that is so extreme and fast that the little wicker masks pop off as their faces swell to grotesque proportions. As their robes rip and tear, they're just bloated, venom-filled sores, and then they burst. Your niece is looking on all of this with fascination. And then she says, "Look there. There she is. That's the pretender of which they speak, the one that has the hive so agitated. And it's just a woman walking in the amphitheater. She's very, very simple looking, very common looking, no shoes, very simple kind of sackcloth dress. And she's looking down at the carnage at her feet. The blood red bees themselves, they don't maintain their form. They just pop into bloody nothing, creating just a red visceral stew in the floor of the amphitheater. This woman approaches you and she says, all the followers of Saint Mephira must be destroyed. Approach me on your knees. Reject the false philosophy, and I shall make your death as painless as possible.
Well, you're in luck, ma'am. And just to take off the mask, said, I'm actually not a member of the cult. I'm just an entrepreneur. Just come here to find my niece and some things of value. We'll just be going on our way. We want no part in your bee civil war. Thank you very much. We wish you no harm, but we're going to go now. And please kill the rest of them with our blessing. But bye, goodbye.
She opens her mouth and lets out a terrible, piercing scream. Her mouth actually distends and stretches wide, like the mouth of a snake, as she lets out this terrible, bellowing scream from which clouds of the demonic bees pour forth. And that's your problem right now. How are you going to deal with it?
Let's think about this. I think some lateral thinking is required. Okay. I think it, ironically, it might actually be time to use the smoke to find a way out of this situation. So I'm going to stoke up. I'm going to find as much of this material as I can, and I'm going to fill this amphitheater with smoke, and we're going to breathe it in and hope, ironically, that the bees tell us how to get out of this horrible mess.
Yeah, to help, you can smell your way to safety. Maybe even the smoke of Saint Mephira will distract the demonic bees. Who knows? I like it. Everyone gets to say what could go wrong here.
The smoke doesn't work to distract bees, and like she sees this as sort of like an attack on her because she recognizes like the smoke, the smell, and will straight up kill you.
Yeah, I think it just doesn't work in time, and you just get swarmed. Yeah, you end up
suffocating as well from the smoke.
yeah.
We're going to pop, aren't we? We're going to pop as well. That's what's going
on. Let's talk about dice.
I think
for using the smoke, you get a light die. So that's,
yeah, and I think rituals, an improvisation probably
yeah, absolutely
as well. Yeah, so that's one die. Yeah.
And Devil's Bargains, anyone?
No matter what, the stink of the smoke will linger and either attract hostile bees or no, I think it'll every now and then it'll just attract hostile bees.
Yeah, I like that. I will add on, it'll mark you for life as an enemy of bees.
You stole the smoke of Saint Mephira. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna make it even more of like a religious thing. Like stealing the smoke is what marks you.
I like that. I mean, I like being a bee heretic, so
Yeah, exactly.
that
Bee
sounds
heresy.
perfect.
I like it. That's good. Let's go ahead and do a dark die as well.
Well, it's extraordinarily dangerous
I
on
would
so
say
many
so.
levels.
Yeah.
Okay, here goes. If this goes wrong, I'm ruined. So,
5 light.
oh, that's a 5 wide.
The complication is going to be that your poor niece doesn't make it out alive. If you're okay with that, let it ride. Otherwise, you can add a dark die.
I was kind of worried I was going to accidentally achieve my drive. So in a way, in a sort of cruel trophy gold way, I think I
It
have to
makes
take
sense.
that
Yeah.
because otherwise it's a little bit too close to ever actually getting what you want in the world of Old Caldor. So sadly, I think I'm going to have to go with that.
Revel, as soon as you finish the second stanza, you hear the scream followed by the buzzing. Whatever that is that you all keep hearing down below, it is a tool of the Witch of Navask. What do you do with that information, if anything?
Just to make sure I heard that correctly, whatever is causing the screaming is a tool of the Witch of Navask.
Yes, yeah. Out of character, the woman who is summoning forth the demon bees is a tool of the Witch of Navask.
I'm so close to losing myself as it is, and I've already basically pledged myself to her service in this case. So I think it's time to go. I think we're going to understand that this is her victory. And move back towards where Sybil and Obeha are, or where the rescued villagers have like kind of shuffled off towards. We're gonna let her win this one.
Meanwhile, Sybil, you were going to try to drown Nil. James, what could go wrong here?
I think it sets off a like large aquifer beneath Wellslode and creates a chain reaction that floods the whole place.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually, as a fail condition. That'd be pretty great. Let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment that you are using, Sybil?
I have a skill in injury, and I'm trying to drown him.
I'll take that, actually. I kind of like it. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Especially if you incorporate like hurting him first as a way of causing him to.
Oh yeah, the water is going directly at him.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how come he drowns, because he's like injured, right?
Yeah.
He can't escape. I like that. Chaotic, you can do the devil's bargain.
I have to ask, do you want something weird or do you want something relevant?
Oh, I do love weird. Weird or something relevant. Something weird or something relevant. You know, let's go in keeping with the narrative and the story. Let's go with something relevant.
I think no matter what, I think Obeha finds something of your crimes within this place and brings it out.
A lot of those. Uh-oh. I like that. Yep.
Very good. Let's talk about dice. 2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
2 light, 1 dark. Let's roll it.
6 dark.
Frick.
That puts you at 5
5
ruin. But you succeed. Describe how you kill Nil.
From the camera angle, you see Sybil's eye staring through this teeny crack in the wall, watching what's going on, overhearing this conversation. And Sybil places her hand on the cool like concrete of this building. The water comes from seemingly nowhere. And it forms from the spot where Sybilis placed her hand on the wall and starts to build up in a just whirlpool near this crack. And when it whooshes forth, it's a deafening, thunderous wave that hits Nil directly. I think it hits him directly in the head, breaking his neck, not killing him. And he falls. Obeha, hopefully you can swim. If you cannot breathe underwater, I'm watching you. I have a suspicion that you can. I'm watching you if you couldn't, and I do have the tadpole ritual to kind of waiting on backup in case I need it. The water circles the room. It can escape. This is not a closed source, you know, this is not a closed room, but it doesn't, and it begins to fill up, spinning as it goes, and taking all of the random things in the room with it.
The water causes the large digger taxidermy to shatter and its guts spray out everywhere. Obeha, you manage to grab all of the notes from the wall, and you can deal with those later. But you do manage to, I assume you can breathe underwater, and so you just wait until it's safe to open the door and leave. The swarm stung have all been drawn away. When that scream happened, they all went toward it. The three of you are there. Obeha with these notes. Revel having rescued the people in the pulp factory, and Sybil having just killed Nil. Let's just have that scene.
Like, as I come out the building, sopping wet, I have notes, and like I'm trying to like wave them about, trying to get them dry as quickly as possible. And I know a little bit of alchemy, and I imagine like I know some minor magic to help dry them out so like they don't get destroyed and what have you.
The notes are very, very well. I'll just read it up from here. Hold on. The notes are incredibly detailed sketches and observations about what the bees have been doing with like using wax to create mannequins, to create their constructs. It's a lot of observations about what the bees are doing, period, like creating, like sort of doing experiments and trying to create an army. It also includes his own sort of recipe, I guess, to turn skin into glass. It is a transmutation process that he has innovated. The combined notes are divided up into two values. The bee information notes are worth 3 gold total. The skin to glass transmutation notes are worth 2 gold. You can keep any of it, or you can sell it in Hearthfire and spread the money around, or do whatever you want with the money, I suppose, Obeha. But in any case, this is a big part of your score here in this incursion. And you can all be kind of looking at the notes as this is how you're figuring out what they're all about, right? And kind of what's going on here.
Just a bit of a for clarification. The flesh to glass thing, if I were to keep that, could I pick that up as a ritual later?
It is not strictly a ritual, but it's more about it's a recipe essentially for creating
okay.
like a potion or an alchemical process.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the three of you.
Just on my way back, can I spend a hunt token for a piece of gold?
Absolutely. You will find, oh, it got dislodged in the geyser out of the lab, but Lucas had a small sample of royal jelly. It lowers your ruin by 1 if consumed, or is worth a gold.
I would like to convert 2 of my hunt tokens as well.
Yeah, I think we're just all spending our hunt tokens on treasure.
On treasure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sybil, you find something that Lucas made with the royal jelly. A jar of ointment, which he was going to brand Mother's Kiss. Everybody here is into branding and Wellslode. It's a thing. They're all about marketing here in Wellslode. But yeah, you have this Mother's Kiss ointment, which is a sort of refined, it uses the royal jelly in some way to create an even more powerful healing salve. It is worth it's worth 1 gold sold as it is. It's worth 2 gold if you take the time to determine its properties to make more. And then sell, sell it as information, basically. Meanwhile, Inda, please describe how you escape this horror down in the amphitheater.
I think basically the amphitheater just fills with this choking sort of vaguely amber smoke from the brazier, and I try and grab a sort of handful of it, a sample to take with me, but unfortunately I have to burn most of it. And I think I try and hold on to my niece's hand and like drag her with me as I sort of, you can smell to see, right? Is that how it works, the smoke?
Yes, inhaling it allows you to navigate via smell. It's a very accurate way of navigating the space.
So I think not only will I be able to, like, big picture, be able to find the others and like help them essentially once I manage to go through the smoke, but also I'll be able to find the way up. But unfortunately, as I make my way out of the smoke, I lose the hand of my niece and I never find it again. And just see this quick sort of scene of her looking back and this sort of single tear falling down her eye, and then she schools her face into that kind of insouciant like look that it always has, and she sort of shakes herself and continues on, back to finding the others.
Indeed, indeed. I think the last thing you hear of your niece is like, I think she probably like gives up some sort of, she kind of hollers like, "But I am one of you." And that's the last thing we hear of her as the buzzing and squelching drowns her out. The group can be back together. You can abandon the incursion now if you wish, if you feel confident you've gathered enough treasure. Or you can use the smoke to navigate even deeper into Wellslode.
Does the smoke give me any hints about any
Yes,
goodies that we've missed?
the hive. The smoke wants to lead you to the hive. You smell it. That's where the Mother of Millions is.
That's also where my death is, so I think I'll fight it off, but I will draw hastily a map. I'll like use it to create a big, very detailed map of Wellslode in the hope of selling it.
Indeed, indeed. So are we all going back to Fort Durand then?
Yes, I think it's time to make our escape.
Indeed. Let's take a slightly longer break, and we'll come back and do Hearthfire. So go over to the character sheet so I can explain how Hearthfire works for those of you who've never done it. If you go down to line 61 on the sheet, that's where Hearthfire begins on the character sheet. You have a column, you each have a column. And the first thing is the Horde. Basically, any money that you don't spend during Hearthfire has to get put in Horde. And whenever the first time you stash away something in your Horde, you have some little prompts that you have to, some narrative prompts that you have to do there. And then, but there are other options as well. After you clear your burdens, any money you have left over can be spent for the additional options. Alternatively, many of the options can be chosen if you're willing to increase your burdens. So if you want to create a household, you can bump up your burdens, and that is actually a good thing to do because it allows you to lower your ruin for free every time you go back home, and clear your conditions, which is very helpful. But other things you can do as well. You just read through the stuff here, how it all works. We're going to take 15 minutes so you have time to read through this and kind of just understand how Hearthfire works. And then we'll come back and we'll do it. So let's take 15. I'll see you then. Okay, it's Hearthfire. I noticed in the chat that Obeha is passing out money from selling the various notes of Lucas, and so Sybil's getting 2, Revel's getting 1, Inda's getting 1 in terms of gold sharing there. So if you haven't noted that, do so now. And yeah, I think we'll take this. We'll just kind of go around the table as many times as we need to, just doing kind of one thing at a time, I guess. And we'll start with Sybil. First thing, Sybil, are you able to meet your burdens? You have 1 for reporting back, and then so you just have to meet 2 more, basically.
I can. I have, with the 1 1 gold that I got for reporting back, I have 6 gold in total. So
oh, good. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so go ahead and clear your or erase enough to clear your burdens, and then, or your burdens stay, but the gold goes down. Yeah, and then you get to unmark your armor for doing that.
awesome.
And now, taking a look at Hearthfire options, what would you like to do to start?
I think
3 gold at the end is not bad, to be honest.
yeah,
Pretty good.
3 gold
Yeah.
is pretty good, I think.
In this game, it's pretty good. Yeah, if you can like stock 1 or 2 in Horde per incursion,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, I'm gonna stick 2 of the gold in my Horde.
Okay. So the
since
first time you
first
stash
time,
gold in your Horde, complete both of the following. Where do you keep your Horde so no one can find it?
I keep my Horde in a small goat hair satchel on Gerald. You
Okay,
can't really
nice.
tell it's there. It blends in with his hair.
Nice. Very good. And then narrate a flashback to the moment your drive became important to you. To remind viewers of the video, your drive is to bribe the justiciars so they erase your crimes.
Well, I was a groundskeeper and also barber for dual roles for some rather wealthy lords in a city far, far north of Fort Durand. And I was accidentally overhearing some plots, I suppose you could say, from these lords to commit some crimes and pin it on, the local groundskeeper, me. So I killed them in a bit of a fit. And unfortunately, because I am me, I did not cover it up very well, and it was pretty obvious who did it. So I had to get the fuck out of there. And yeah, no, I'm really hoping that if I find, a really good representation I could probably pass it off as self-defense, but it's gonna require some bribery for sure.
Fabulous. I love it. That's good. I feel like there's probably more to the story. Maybe we don't know it yet, but because this is a huge sum of money you need to raise to pay off the justiciars. Seems like a bribe for getting off a murder charge wouldn't be that much money. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But so I wonder if there's more to it as the story
Yeah,
progresses. You know,
that's probably the full story. Don't worry about that.
very good. Let's go. We'll come back and do some more stuff with you in a bit. Let's go over to Revel. Revel, let's talk about burdens. Are you able to clear them?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and knock down your gold as needed. And what would you like to do to start on Hearthfire?
I would like to establish a household.
Nice. Let's read that out. It says, after you survive your first incursion, you may take out a loan for a small private house. It isn't much, but safely returning to the comforts of home heals one ruin at all conditions, which you can do right now. The first time you establish a household, increase your burdens by 1, and then do both of the following. First of all, what kind of structure or environment is your household? A small cottage, a decrepit church you are lovingly restoring, a series of tunnels belonging to the local thieves guild, something else. Name and describe your household.
In Fort Durin, the North District, sometimes also called the Numb District. It's a part of town that is crawling with fading monuments. It's said it's where gods go to die. There are people there who worship dying or dead gods. It's also a place where people who survive going into the forest sometimes find their way there because even their nightmares are slightly faded. And I think there is a temple to Bakanath, the once demon, that Revel finds himself agreeing to help restore this, or at least a wing, or he's agreeing to help restore the church, and they'll let him have a small room on the western wing to himself while he is taking up residence there. And also he's a sellsword, so keep the riffraff out, help out here and there. And slowly they're going to begin bringing this temple back into service. But the key thing about the room that he's given is it has a view of the keep. And it's a thing that he looks at as he wakes up and goes to bed.
I love that. Be sure to, where that line that says my household is, be sure to editorialize however you wish to be reminded of that. But also, everyone else gets to declare a memento from A Heart Hums in Darkness that can be found in your household. You get to decorate your house a little bit, or this temple, I guess. And this doesn't have to be something that we actually saw in play. It can be something that's just implied by the story, if you wish. But everyone gets to think of something and add to it.
You have a ribbon from Yulia's hair.
Which Yulia? The doll or the wax mannequin?
Yes.
I love it. You can note those on your mementos.
Okay.
I'm going to say that one of the people you rescued thanked you by giving you something. Let me think what it is. Maybe come back to me, but that's kind of where my head is at right now.
I think in the first session there was that jar with the bee in, and we let the bee go. But I think you later on, when you looked again, one of those blood red bees had appeared in the jar, the closed jar.
Oh, a little token from the Witch of Navask. One of the blood red demon bees. I like it.
You have a flower, but it's not a real flower. It's one made of wax.
Yeah, I'll say that one of the people you rescued, as after you gave your little speech about like don't stop on the road, be sure to go straight to Fort Durand, after you did all that, one of the people, will say a young woman, she gave you what's something that would be really like special to a Wellslodian based off being a subterranean people. That's where my mind is going.
Maybe something like heirloom seeds from when they
Oh,
were
that's
on the
good.
surface.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah. She gives you like some heirloom seeds. Like it's a practical thing, but also it's meant to be like a token of affection, right?
Wonderful. I love all of those.
And don't forget to lower your ruin as well.
Oh, yes. And ruin goes down by 1, right?
For establishing the household, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go over to Obeha for now. Obeha, are you able to clear your burdens?
Yes. I have
And
8 gold, so it goes down to 4.
nice. Go ahead and unmark your armor. Revel, you can unmark your armor as well. And what would you like to do on Hearthfire?
Because I have a household, my ruin also goes down by 1.
Does indeed.
And I get to remove any conditions I don't want. So I'm going to be removing stung.
It's a good idea. You also get to add your own memento to your household.
Mm-hmm. I think I have just this pile of wax that is starting to take the shape of a person.
It keeps like trying. That's pretty good.
Or it's implied that
yeah.
or it's implied that Obeha is trying to make a wax mannequin.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like it. Great. Okay, that's all good. Is there anything else you want to do on Hearthfire? We'll come back to you if we need to, but for now.
Probably going to be storing some gold and reducing my ruin some more. So
okay, we'll come back to that. And are you able to meet your burdens?
I am. I've got a few things to do, but I'm gonna have to do them in a particular order because I want to carouse, but I also want my household that I'm gonna set up to be in the tavern, like a room in the tavern. So I kind of have to start with the carousing.
Well, let's do it. You can spend 1 gold in town to get access to useful information before beginning an incursion. Useful information includes rumors, maps, and a named monster's weakness. Each time you do so, mark the first unmarked option and do as instructed. Basically, just remember this before we start the next incursion if we see Inda again. But right now it says, yeah. I love this part. This is me being on my bullshit when I wrote this. Ask a player to write down an adjective and reveal it to you secretly. Ask another player to write down a noun and reveal it to you secretly. Combine the adjective and noun to make the name of Inda's favorite tavern in town. And they should share it with you on chat directly instead of in the group chat. Who's giving you which?
I might ask chaotic for a noun and Amanda for an adjective. I have my noun. Okay, so the tavern is called the Dry Pony.
Okay, very good. The Dry Pony. I love it. That is your favorite tavern in town. And yeah, just remember that you have some free info coming your way, and you want to do your household as well, you said?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, do I with the tick boxes below my favorite tavern? Do I have to do those now about the meal and or are those like for subsequent?
Each time you
It-
do so, you mark the first unmarked option. So basically, the
Okay,
next time you do
cool.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the household is, I've decided I'm going to set myself up as an occasional sort of fence and hedge inside the tap room. So I'm going to go live upstairs in the in a sort of the garrets of the Dry Pony, and that's where my household's going to be.
I love it. And everyone gets to give you a memento.
Somehow, in all of the hullabaloo, you managed to snake a treasure from the treasure tree without the bees attacking or anything. It's not really worth a lot, but it is a paper flower.
I think you have this sealed envelope that has like your name on it, but it also has the name of who gave it to you, and it's from Orpheus.
You have your niece's stinger. You managed to grab that on the way.
I was going to say her bracelet. Oh man. You have you have a bee perfectly encased in solidified honey. Exactly, it's the mosquito from Jurassic Park, but a bee instead of amber, it's like crystallized honey, but it's a little spherical, paperweight, or put it on the tip of a cane.
I feel like Enda would absolutely like use that to establish some kind of like capitalistic venture. A la Jurassic Park.
I need something to hit my hammer on. My weapon is an auctioneer's hammer, so I can use it as my gavel or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, the thing you hit the hammer on.
I love it.
I also need to put money in my hoard, but I'll wait till the next time it comes around.
Yeah, we'll come back around to you. Go ahead and lower your ruin and take off any conditions you want for now. Okay, let's go back to Sybil. Sybil, do you have anything else you want to do for Hearthfire?
I do have a couple of things I want to do. I think I have enough to be able to set up a household.
Yeah, you don't need anything right now. You just have to increase your burdens by one.
Which I have done. Also, since I had 2 items that I threw into my hoard, I get to do it each time thereafter. Or does it each time you put money in?
Yeah, it's each time thereafter. Each time
Okay.
thereafter you put money in your hoard, basically. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll just set up my little household.
Tell us about it.
In this case, it is a small room. It's just room and board in a boarding house on the edge of Fort Durin. It's one little window looking north. There's just enough room for me and Gerald to be comfortable, and the landlord is cool with Gerald because everyone's cool with Gerald. Gerald's the best. And yeah, I spend a lot of evenings looking out that window, looking back at my hometown in that direction.
Mementos from Wellslode.
I think you have one of the B ballista bolts.
Nice. I think you managed to grab one of the little glass taxidermies. It's a small one, like some kind of small digging creature, like a gopher or something, that's been the skin has been like it's transparent glass, and you can like see the guts in there.
Gross. I love it.
I think in your backpack, you find a branch from the tree of treasures, and it's a wood that doesn't grow above ground. And in fact, actually, when it's exposed to sunlight, it sort of hardens and what's the word I'm looking for? Petrifies, and becomes this sort of like, you can't really sell it for a whole lot, but it turns into this very pretty turquoise color.
Like that.
I think when you were fleeing after Neil's demise, you found bobbing around a piece of waterlogged piece of his face, and on one side is like an eye socket and an amber eye and a bit of nose, like a Phantom of the Opera mask sort of shape, and the other side is just sodden honeycomb that you've dried out and put more wax into.
Waterlogged piece of
great.
Nils' face. Amber eye included.
Fabulous. Go ahead and lower your ruin by 1 and clear any conditions you wish if you have any to clear. Let's keep going around the table. Rebel, what do you want to do next on Hearthfire?
Quick question. Establishing a household, does that reduce my gold, or is that, it says
It increases your burdens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
For next time. Like you're okay for now, but like it goes up. The number goes up right now.
Right. So I would like to spend 1 gold to bring my ruin from 4 to 3.
Okay.
And
you also have your freebies as well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if I could narrate. Let me get down to that line. It's like a private moment, or a moment that
narrate a scene showing a private side few others see. That
okay.
One?
Yeah, I would love to do that. After establishing himself and getting to know the groundskeeper of the temple, she jokingly refers to him as Sir Knight. Maybe Revel has disclosed that he was once an errant knight to her, and he doesn't really try and keep a whole lot of secrets. But there's a night less than a week later, where as Revel is coming back home, she is sitting there in the main chamber of the temple, and there is music being played on the streets outside. And she says, Sir Knight, I never learned to dance, and I'm sure you've been to plenty of those hoity-toity parties up in the fancy keeps. And she says, teach me a step or two. And Prevel kind of chuckles at the request, but he does. They spend the evening, he teaches her a couple steps to, a couple simple, back and forth little line, holding onto the hands, just like at the fingertips. And they spend, a little bit of time dancing this little jig, just the two of them in the moonlight, to the sound of a street busker in the North District.
Nice, good. Your ruin is now back to the starting value of 2. And that is your character essentially reset for the next incursion, though you can certainly keep doing other things for Hearthfire. Let's go to Abeja. Abeja,
Okay.
what do you want to do
I'm-
next?
All right. I'm going to stash my gold, and I think I'm going to mark answer, in what way does your physical appearance reflect your obsession with your drive?
Okay.
I think we see the scene of Obeha like lowering like the bucket into the well where they keep their gold and like and whatnot. However, as they do, they lean just a little bit too far and their mask falls off into the well, and for the first time we see Obeha's face. And it is not a human face, it is a face of this like frog that's like the skin sags, and like every so often it just like puffs outward as they are breathing, and it's just really just kind of disturbing. And they sigh and they pull the bucket back up with the mask and put it back on their face.
Oh, good. All right. So that makes your horde total now, because this character is a recurring character, you're up to 10 gold. Just for our own edification, how many incursions has Obeha survived?
I have survived 3.
So 3 incursions, 10 gold. All right. At that rate, in order to complete your in order to fulfill all of your horde, you would have to complete how many more incursions successfully?
I've done
12?
yeah, 12.
Trophy gold is very unforgiving. There's a lot of dramatic irony in trophy gold, because like the chances of you ever completing your horde are like so remote. Okay, good. I love it. Great. Let's go to Enda. Anything else you want to do for Hearthfire, Enda?
I think Inda's doing exactly the same thing as Obeha just did, like adding to the horde, and
Very good.
I'm gonna do the free healing of a beautiful place in or near town.
Go ahead and do that first.
So I want the beautiful place. Okay. It's of course the markets of Fort Durin, the bustling hub of commerce, and you see Inda striding through saying, That's a cheap piece of junk. I'll take half of that. And come on, you want a map of Wellslode, and just going around shaking people's hands, haggling, insulting, and she's just in her element, and everyone knows who she is. And to her, it's just this beautiful sort of place of commerce and activity.
I love it. Go ahead and lower your ruin. And does that put you at your starting value? It does.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then also you said you were stashing horde too, yeah. Well, let's go ahead and do that too. Where do you keep your horde so no one can find it?
Well, one thing I do while I'm there is I take a quick trip to the surgeon, because where I keep my my gold that no one can see it is, Inda's an older lady. And coarse flour hasn't been kind on her back molars. So actually, it's sort of like a thing that actually happens in the real world, but she gets gold molars put in when she has enough gold, and hides her gold in her back teeth where people can't see it.
I love it. So good. Narrate a flashback to when it became important to you to earn your right to your family's name.
Well, I mean, the fallout with the disastrous trading mission across the blossoming sea, when the niece, which I think we should probably give a name. Let's say that her name was Anda, and she was the sort of beloved niece of a younger sister. And Inda came back, ruined, bankrupt, her ship dashed in the blossoming sea, no, you know, like lost the youngest member of the family, and the family all just disowned her and turned their back, and she was ruined and disgraced and a wretch, and dragged her way to the frontiers of Fort Durin to delve into the forest once more.
Fabulous. Let's go back over to Sybil. Anything else you want to do, Sybil?
I don't think I can really do anything else.
Have you spent all your money?
I popped 2 into my hoard. And the rest was burdens.
Well,
I
you
still
had
have 3 now.
yeah, you had 3. Well, you had. I think you started with 3 after you paid your burdens.
Yes.
So you
So I
spent
had
2 on
3,
hoard.
spent 2. I have 1 more left.
You have 1 more left, right?
I'm
You can use that to heal back down to 3 if you want.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Okay. And then if there's nothing else, we'll go over to Rebel. Anything else you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bank these last 2 gold into my hoard.
Where do you keep your money so no one can find it?
In the temple. There is the actual statue, I think. To who did I say that was? Starts with a B. Bacanor?
Sounds right.
Yeah. Underneath the statue, there is a false recess, or a false a facade, or a little piece that can be like pulled out with a recess in it, and very tropishly, you know, he just hides it in a little cavity in the base of the statue, but he can only access it when it's not during service, in the middle of the night, things like that.
Nice. And then narrate a flashback to the Gesh with the Witch of Navask.
Okay. So the moment actually that it became important to him is not the moment that the Gesh hit him. We see it is a bright and shining day in Amberin. And there are this is in the keep, this is in the castle proper. There are bards and streamers and flowers just kind of drifting down from balconies, and there outside the throne room is a man who is every bit the Bardsong Paladin. The shining armor outside is his trusty steed, and he is just about to be announced for some deed that he did. And as the doors open, he stops at the threshold and cannot take a step inside. And in the back of his mind, he hears, "Never again will you enter the court of a sitting royal." And Revel looks to the far end of the room, where there is a lady in waiting whose handkerchief he has and won fairly in tournament and contest. The Duchess's, one of the Duchess's ladies in waiting, a young woman by the name of Karin. And without taking off his helmet, he realizes he cannot enter the room without losing his life. And he turns around and has to walk away, and leaves the room kind of waiting to present him with awards. There's talks and murmurs, and that is the moment that his drive became important to him, when he realized he would never again see the inside of a royal chamber. And we kind of flash forward to that moment where he's getting set up in his new household, and he puts his backpack down and looks out the window, and there's the keep of Fort Durin there in the background.
Love it. Fabulous. Is that everything, everyone? Is there anything else?
I have a couple different things I have to do. That it's not gold required with rather training and
Okay.
healing.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do you want to do?
I think for this scene, I think we see Obeha like at the dry pony drinking by themselves. I think they sent out a couple of invites to like various people of the hunters of this latest incursion. And I would have a question. Does anyone respond to it, or is it Beha just drinking by themselves?
Revel would be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sybil would go.
Mm-hmm.
Are
I
you
think Indo-
buying?
I will be buying.
Oh yeah, Sybil will be there.
I think Indus quite respects Obeha for being so sort of direct and pragmatic. So Inda will definitely go.
I think as we're just like having casual conversation about what happened and like what's going to happen now, because well, even though this information has gotten out, there's probably going to be war, and I think Obeya just starts talking about their family back home. They haven't talked to them in a few years, but it seems very, very important to Obeya. And that's how we get this private side of few others see.
This being the few, the three of you.
Yes, yeah.
Very good. I like it. It's great. And also you said you're going to do training too. We don't do that very often, so let's read it. Training. You have a mentor training you in a new skill. Each skill you acquire costs 1 burden and then is added to the training section above. So tell us a little bit about your mentor.
My mentor is Aram.
Okay.
He's a local librarian, a bit of an eccentric because he has theories about the origin of the saints, and
Okay.
no one quite knows what's up with that. But like he's probably one of the most well versed in myths of the realm. So since we're dealing with so much political things and like it doesn't make sense to Obeya, like they just need to like learn more about like the history of the world, and like we just see Obeya like going over books with the ROM, like showing like what's in the library, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks of just studying just various myths and whatnot. And one of the reasons my burden has increased is because, well, I still need access to this library. It's because like I don't know everything in the world. So
And what's this actual skill you're taking?
I'm taking the skill myths.
Okay,
just it feels in line with some of my other skills, such as it's all the way at the bottom. Symbols, rituals, alchemy. Like I know some stuff, but I don't know everything.
I love it. It's great. Okay, well, is there anything else for Hearthfire?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone good? Or
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right then. In that case, that will conclude our session and our series of A Heart Hums in Darkness. Let's go ahead and do a Stars and Wishes for the entire series, including today. And wishes, I guess, in this case, is just like maybe things you hope to see in the story if you get to see these characters again, or your character again. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Normally I take notes. I wasn't taking notes because I was getting so distracted by what was happening. It was a really action-packed day with everything that was going on, and I was really invested in all of it. I'm glad we got to kill Nil. Sorry, Nil. Not sorry. He was terrible, and I mean, all my love to Jack, but Nil. um, the character choices that everybody made this session were phenomenal. I thought they were really indicative of the higher ruin that everyone was at. You know, they were really leaning into that without it being just super out there. The stuff that you could do in Trophy Dark versus Trophy Gold with your character necessarily has a different feel. You're trying to survive in Trophy Gold. You're not gonna in Trophy Dark, so it's a little different there. But yeah, I think these characters were a lot of fun to interact with. The side characters, NPCs, the horrible situations Jason threw us in, all fantastic. Yeah, this was a very like gold standard Trophy Gold for me.
I'll go next and say that a star for Michael Van Vliet, who wrote this incursion. It was really cool. We didn't get to see all of it, but we saw a lot of it. And there are some really interesting, it's a really interesting kind of evolution, or not really evolution, but like it's an interesting like continuation of the sort of overall like B story that starts with a warm and pleasant hum in Trophy Dark. And this particular incursion has so many interesting elements in terms of like B society, and kind of like it's suggestive of something underneath the surface going on with the bees without ever really saying it. And that's actually a really, really fun space to play in as the GM, because you get to give meaning to some of these things and you can adapt it as you need to. And it was especially helpful because I had like some lore or elements from the Trophy Dark incursion that I ran to sort of bring in. And so it all kind of worked really nicely together. I was able to like really fuse the two in a really cool way. And so a star for that. As far as the play goes, I really enjoyed lots of different things that happened today. This was a very, very action-packed session, and I think that's what you want in this sort of finale session. I liked the decision of Revel like going to rescue the people in the factory. I didn't see that happening, actually. I didn't think you all would do that. And so I thought that was great. It was an interesting it was a sort of like rare heroism in Trophy Gold, which you don't see very often, but I think it was appropriate for Revel because he's like a knight, you know, like that's like Revel's deal. So I thought that was really great. I enjoyed I just like, James, how you play Inda. Inda's a fun character to watch. And there was something really interesting about Inda splitting off from the group and seeing this other side of the story. I thought that was really enjoyable. I also quite like seeing Inda in Fort Durin. That was also really fun too. The stars for like some of the Hearthfire things that happened as well. The frog mask thing was really great. That was especially good in the context of Nil, who also has kind of fucked up face things going on, saying like, I can see you, you know, like I can see it on your face even though you wear a mask. I thought that was really interesting. So I like that a lot. And I really, really loved the flashback with Revel. That was great fun. And for Sybil, I really enjoyed I think that there was like a couple of times when Sybil didn't have to lean into the danger, but you did. And I think that like led to some really, really good moments in the story. And so I appreciated that as the GM. It was good fun. Yeah. So just overall, like I thought everyone did a great job, and it was a lot of fun to play out. And I think that this B story is really intriguing. Like, I don't think we know exactly what all of it means. What does the Witch of Navask have to do with it? What is the deal with the, like, why are the bees trying to create an army? Like, or like, why do they feel the need to do this? Like, there's just so many like little unanswered questions, which that ambiguity and that sort of open-endedness is very enticing. So, and that's, I guess, that's my wish, I guess. Like, I would like to know what some of that stuff means. Yeah.
I'll throw in a quick extra star to Kevin for the flocculent cathedral stuff. That was awesome.
Oh
Made
yeah,
me
the
so
poem.
happy.
Yeah, which
That
I've
was
heard
so
like
good.
I like that was really funny because I've heard that poem and recited that poem like 9 million times, and like so it was fun to have it like introduced there. It almost feels like it almost like has the feeling of like a Lord's Prayer in Trophy. You know, it's kind of got that vibe. Yeah.
It gives me chills every time that poem. Like, I love it.
Gave me chills saying it. So, stars, gosh, it's interesting the difference between Trophy Dark and Trophy Gold, because when death isn't inevitable, it feels scarier. Doing a lot of this stuff where it's like we're at ruin 4, ruin 5 and still making risk rolls. In Trophy Dark, you're like, okay, yeah, this is great. Let's just, let's go for broke. We're not making it out. We're going to drive it like we stole it. Trophy Gold, it's like, I'm legit, like, I want to survive. I want to make it. I want to, there's
And
this...
ironically, in Trophy Dark, you can come back, right? Like you can do a reduction roll in Trophy Dark. You can't do that in Gold. Like it's very ironic. Yeah.
And like that balance, that razor's edge where it was thrilling is probably the best word. That whole like half hour, 45 minutes where we had like 2 of us at ruin 5, and it's just like and then like tempting us with drive stuff. So started Jason for being like, you could find out more about the Witch of Nevask. It's there. And like having to fight that, like there's 2 different kinds of zombie movies, not to like non sequitur, but like there's the zombie movies where like, oh, we've got to find a cure, we've got to save everyone. And then there's the zombie movies where like, no, we just need to survive. And like what decision are we going to make? And like going through that process in the first person is just, it's why I love this game. It's why I love Trophy Gold. And so that was great. I love all the stars to Chaotic for Obeha and the mask moment in Hearthfire. Gosh darn, this whole session was just full of mood, but if that didn't just cap everything right there, especially because it's the longest running character, and the wish is just like I want to see more of this. I'd also love to learn more about the Witch of Nevask's involvement, and whether or not she's a benevolent or malevolent figure in the bigger and smaller pictures. Does she have plans for Revel? Is Revel her only sort of knight? What's going on there? There's so many unanswered questions, and I love that, and I just want to learn more. Inda, the stuff with the niece, losing her at the end, like my heart melted. And Amanda and Sybil, just gosh, the goat. Every time the goat comes up, I can't help but giggle. So that was all great.
I gotta give a star for like the parallels this session, especially with Inda being off by herself and then Obeha being off by themselves. And both of our drives came to the foreground, and then we were denied getting any more information because, well, Sybil killed Nil and the niece got killed again. So that was just very interesting. I gotta give a star for everybody deciding to like, you know what, we're not gonna let Obeha drink by themselves. And you don't think I'm a total weirdo because like a big part of my drive is feeling ostracized from society. So that's just, it was a very touching moment. And like a star for Jason for not killing my character like during the combat, because holy cow.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were at Rune 5. I would have like paused and said, hey, do you want to bail out of the combat because you're at Rune 5? But I didn't realize you were, so yeah.
Also, like that weird noise of like that I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like a growl. I can't quite remember what made that noise, but that was like, I was like, oh god, what's that?
The honey zombie noise?
Yeah,
or,
like yeah, the honey zombies, like
I was going for my version of a Last of Us clicker, or yeah, I was going for my version of a clicker, like from the video game The Last of Us, but like but I tried to imagine like the sound, like okay, it's a clicker, but like but the noise is like muffled because their face and because they're like covered up with like this glaze, you know. So I don't know, that's, and then I just did it.
Wish I want more night stuff. Like
You could have had it.
I could have had it, but
but
I was denied, and I love it.
You could have had it. I was ready if you had, but that was my fulfillment of the devil's bargain, was was for Nil to give that offer, right? That's how I kind of interpreted that at the moment. Oh, I was gonna give a star to Amanda. Amanda, I really liked your mementos for the household that you gave to people. I thought those were really, really good. Like yours were particularly poignant and interesting, I thought. Yeah, any other stars or wishes?
I feel like everyone else already said what I would have said. I mean, other than to reiterate, that was a particularly good Hearthfire, like rich and long and detailed. And I think everyone really made the most of it. And just, yeah, like stars for just, yeah, everyone really getting a chance to go for their drives, which like we've already said, but I think it was particularly important. And yeah, just those high drama like roles, like, yeah, really just choosing to sort of create excitement, and hope you'll survive, but maybe, yeah, sort of. And yeah, wishes, I think I want to see more, because after a Hearthfire like that, you really do want to see. I mean, obviously Obeha's different because I've been following Obeha for a while, but it just really makes you want to see what everyone's going to do next after a really good, and it really proved the value of Hearthfire to me.
Yeah, this was a good Hearthfire. My hope with Hearthfire has always been like, you know, like when I'm gonna go into design talk for a minute, but like, so Hearthfire was a kind of one of my earlier design efforts in this regard, but basically, which I think I refined in later on in the between. But the idea is like, there are things on the character sheet, there are things on the paper that like me in communication with you as a player, we are kind of like working out what your character's backstory is, right? So it's like, I've got some options for you here to think about your character's backstory within this frame, right? That's how the between works. That's kind of how Brindlewood Bay works, but it's really how the between works. And we got that today in Hearthfire, I think, a lot, like within these like interesting like confines of, like, you know, the household and all the various little things. It's all narrative tech, right? Like we painted a really nice picture of these characters, right? And like what they are, because I think the characters are most interesting to understand when they're not in the dungeon, right? Like in the dungeon, we get to see them doing their job, and like that's all really straightforward, and there's a lot of pressure and danger. But in Hearthfire, or when they're back home, we get to actually like learn more about like who they are as people, and I think we saw that really well with everybody today. So that made me really happy. Yeah. But
I also like that there was a really strong theme of family, particularly like found family in the dichotomy between the dungeon and the Hearthfire, where like bees are an army and also a giant extended family. There was those calls for Revel to join the hive. The hive is home, and man, thank all the sisters that were able to resist those. But also like just the scene with Obeha at the Dry Pony, just the fact that the scene took place at the Dry Pony. We had this, you know, kind of again, parallelism or dichotomy, juxtaposition, whatever you want to call it, between the family and the found family, and seeing Obeha, you know, joined by these new comrades, and then also like Revel getting kicked out of his family because the Gesh, the high society, the royal side of things, and now like hanging out in the dark, dingy part of Fort Durin. And you know, I love all of these sort of like mirrored or parallel narratives, and it's all coming back to like found family.
I love that. One note about the Dry Pony, this is obviously not intentional, but I think it's interesting. In A Warm and Pleasant Hum, in that run of it, for those of you who've watched it, there's an undead horse that factors into the story, right? And I love the idea. Like the Dry Pony just made me think of that. It made me think of that dead horse.
Please don't make the sound.
Yeah. Oh, I won't. Yeah. I love that dead horse sound though. Yeah, but that was I just thought that was kind of funny. No, that's a great point though about found family. I think that, and I think that's really what it is, right? I mean, like there's this, I think there's always like this, like when you're playing like a fantasy, you know, a party-based fantasy adventure game, there's always this like you feel like you have to like say everything, like how do we know each other, how did we get here, what are we doing, like we want to establish all of our history and know it all before we even like set foot in the dungeon. And I just don't think that's really useful. I think it's so much better to just let it kind of unfurl like this, and like how do you all know each other? Well, who knows, but you're all really connected now, you know. And I think that's the more important like thing, you know. I think that's the more interesting, dramatically interesting thing. So any more stars or wishes? Okay, well, this was great fun. Thank you all so much. If you're watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and we will I will see all of you around on Discord. Let's wave goodbye. Goodbye.